It's finally time to rank every single My Hero Ultra Rumble character on a tier list, and I want to start by saying that there are no bad characters in this game. I truly believe this, and everyone is super fun to play, which is not only impressive, but also the reason why my tier list only has 4 different tiers: S rank, A rank, B rank, and C rank. No one is lower than that. Also, a little note, most of my playtime is on PlayStation, where there's aim assist and it's controller aiming. I play the game on PC for a little bit, and it's very different. So if you're coming from the PC, I wouldn't be surprised if your tier list is completely different. And with that out of the way, let's answer the question that most of you came here for: who are the top tiers in this game? My answer is these guys. And I'll tell you why that is, as well as reveal the rest of the tier list after a quick word from today's sponsor. This video is brought to you by Opera GX. You are using a bad browser, unless you've already made the switch to Opera GX. It's free, you can control how much CPU and RAM the browser gets, and the GX Corner is the single best video game release calendar, complete with customizable filters, trailers, and even all the free games and deals available at the moment. And all of that is just the beginning. GX mods give you a ton of customization, completely changing how your browser looks and sounds, from keyboard typing to custom opening or closing tab sounds and different background music. And with the mods button on the sidebar, it is so easy to enable or disable all of this, or even swap mods entirely. Speaking of the sidebar, this is also where you can find all your day-to-day apps. Twitch, TikTok, Discord, all of those apps and a lot more are just a click away. It's so easy to check who's live on Twitch, for example, without having to open the website. If you're in the middle of a very long show, but you need to change tabs, the video pop-out feature will have the video follow you, no matter where you go. In the browser, of course. The video remains fully adjustable and resizable, so it's just the perfect size without getting in the way. And if you're coming from another browser, the transition has never been easier. Browsing history, bookmarks, cookies, all imported with just a few clicks. And it's also compatible with every single Google Chrome extension. Also, did I mention that it's free? Yes, I did, right at the start, so you can get it today using my link down below, and thank you Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Okay, so the top tier start with Tsuyu, who is, in my opinion, the current #1 character in the game. It used to be Bakugo, but then the damage nerf hit him and he dropped to #2. Tsuyu was already strong with the best mobility in the game and a devastating tongue combo that will absolutely melt health bars. Not to mention incredible survivability thanks to her invisibility, and she can revive allies instantly with her tongue, which means that this incredibly hard to see, incredibly hard to catch target should always be your first focus in a team fight. Otherwise, she's gonna revive folks and restart the whole team fight again. There is no question in my mind that she is #1. Bakugo is still #2 though. Still deals good damage, his shots are piercing so they ignore a lot of shields and barriers, but more importantly, he can fly. He can choose to stay in battle or run away, and I think mobility is king in this game. Paired with Bakugo's damage, easily top 2. Todoroki is actually better than Bakugo in a lot of different ways. He has more damage, and if he freezes a target coordinating with his team, he can melt a health bar instantly. He's got a shield, which Bakugo doesn't, and he also has good mobility, but Bakugo can fly vertically. So if the end game takes place in a vertical space, Todoroki is kinda screwed. So I put him below Bakugo because I believe Bakugo is more versatile. All Might is a damn menace. Honestly, he might be the best character in the game when it comes to defense. That tornado lets him move while being pretty much invulnerable to anything, and that's his worst quirk. Solid alpha, the beta is great for movement too, and also getting in and out of combat, and the special action doesn't just give him more movement, he can also use it to rescue teammates. He's the absolute complete package. And then Toga is very easy to explain. She can be any of the top tiers, but only for a limited time. And that's why she's at the bottom of this tier. That said, when she goes back to her default form, she's not a bad character at all. She's just not as good as those other guys. But no other character allows you to have 2 Bakugos on your team, and that is pretty valuable. The top tiers are done, let's move on to the A tiers, which I still think are very strong characters, and they all synergize great with those top tiers. So feel free to mix these characters with those guys up there, and you should still get some very easy wins. Cementos is a survivalist, one of the hardest characters to kill in the entire game, and that wouldn't be a problem if he wasn't able to revive teammates with a single button. But because he can do that, he should also be your first target to focus down in a team fight. A guy that can survive this well being your first target is rough in any team fight. And the only reason he's not at the top tier for me is because in a 1v1 situation, he can be countered by any character with good mobility. But you do need to have the right character, because if you choose wrong, taking him down is just impossible. Also, I feel like he should get a better reward in ranked, because he gets no ranked points whatsoever, even if he does well. Deku has definitely felt stronger pre-patch. I still think he has great mobility, especially with his dive kick being armored. He basically can get out of fights anytime he wants to. But damage-wise, I think the nerf hit him harder than he needed to, because he doesn't have as much range as the other top tiers, and even mobility-wise, is slightly below those top tiers, so he still feels like a complete package, just doesn't excel at anything anymore. Except when helping down teammates, perhaps. Momo is all about the shield. It makes her very hard to take down because the shield charge lasts for such a long time and she has 2 charges. By the time that second charge ends, she's pretty much got the shield up again. So she can just keep doing this for a really long time. Now, in a 1v1, dodging the shield isn't very hard. But if you're in a team fight, you basically have to target the other 2 team members while dodging the incoming train that is Momo. And that train really hurts if it hits you. But what hits even harder than a train? Mr. Kirishima over here. It's all about being in the melee range with Kirishima. If he manages to do that, he's gonna destroy health bars. He just lacks the mobility, and by that I mean he has some mobility, but it's just below average enough that he can never run away from a fight, and it's hard for him to chase down some targets. That's the A tier, which, by the way, I wouldn't really buff or nerf anyone here. I think this is the perfect balance. And so is the next tier, to be honest, but maybe these guys at B need a little buff. Something tiny, nothing crazy. Starting with Dabi, who was an absolute noob stomper when the game first came out, thanks to the auto-tracking of his projectiles. But I think by now, people have figured out that damage-wise, Dabi isn't that special unless you're running into his traps. I still think his strongest asset is definitely his Gamma quirk because the flame circle shields everyone inside it. But Dabi has 0 mobility, which makes him an easy target to focus down. Shigaraki is awesome, he deals a lot of damage, but he has way too many weaknesses. Most of the characters I've ranked on this list already have some sort of air mobility, and Shigaraki's attacks are all grounded. He literally cannot do anything if someone is flying above him, or just standing on a different platform. He's an absolute endgame monster because when the circle gets small, there's not a lot of spaces for you to stand on or run away to, but even then, it depends on where the circle closes, because if he has to climb walls, he's gonna have a really tough time. I really struggled with Ida's placement, and to be honest, I'm still not 100% sure. On one hand, he deals a lot of damage, and he can pick up teammates in order to revive them, so he's got good team support too, and he should definitely be the first target you focus down on a team fight because he has this ability, but because he moves around like crazy, that's not always easy to shoot him. On the other hand, I also feel like a good player will destroy an Ida even if he's moving around like crazy. Like, their shots just hit every single time. And Ida is a character that dies really quickly, so good damage, good mobility, and team support, he's at least a B tier, but with how easy some players can handle him, I don't know if I should place him lower. For now, I feel like this is a fair place for him. And then we have the brand new Aizawa. And Aizawa is definitely more of a support character here, disabling everyone's quirks in a team fight and also locking down opponents with all 3 of his quirks. But he needs a team to back him up. He's a very good support with good mobility, but a solo Aizawa is not really a threat. Compress buffs made the character viable in my opinion because you simply cannot shoot a good compress. He will reflect every shot back at you. And if you approach with melee, he's going to throw trucks at you or just run away with his Gamma. He's listed as a support character, but he kind of feels like a support damage dealer. But I also feel like sometimes it's safe to completely ignore this character and just kill the rest of the team around him, because if you leave the compress for last, he's not gonna be much of a threat anymore. And the weakest B tier for me is Uraraka, and yes, I understand that this is the hot take of this tier list, as a lot of this community seems to think that she is a top 5 character, but I just don't see it. First of all, her alpha still feels bugged even after the patch, so it's just unreliable. And her spin is good, it can lock down a character and deal a ton of damage, but only if you can catch them. I think if the spin had a little speed buff similar to All Might's Tornado, then she would be a much bigger menace. As it stands, I don't think she's anything special, but feel free to disagree, it's more comments for me. And let's wrap this up with the bottom tiers, but I remind everyone that there are no bad characters in this game. I truly believe that, but someone had to be at the bottom. I actually had a full D tier before the balance patch hit. I definitely had Compress and Mount Lady down there, but now I think they are actually okay. And for the C tier, I could say that these characters are good at doing some stuff, because they are, but since they're at the bottom, I'll probably focus on their negatives. And for Mount Lady, that is her lack of range and how easy of a target she becomes when she grows. Plus, that growing and shrinking animation is just too long. She gets absolutely nuked in that short period of time. But you really can't deny her value in the late game once the circle gets smaller, and that's why she's at the top of this tier right here. And for the final 3 characters, I actually don't have any strong feelings on who's the worst in the game right now. I think they all have different flaws and definitely need work. Denki has 1 movement ability. If he uses it to get in and a team fight goes bad, he cannot get away. But if he saves that ability, then he suddenly cannot get in a fight. He cannot chase either, even though he's got solid damage. Ibara has a really good revive and can be absolutely clutch, but any decent player will know to focus her down first because she has zero mobility. She literally cannot escape. Her armored moves can help her against melee characters, but against projectiles, she has absolutely nothing. And Kendo's shield got some nice buffs since the beta, and she can offer some solid team support, but also lacks any kind of mobility. And if she gets sandwiched, her team is gonna do absolutely nothing. So it ends up being a matter of placing teammates in different spots so she cannot protect herself from every angle. And that's the Ultra Rumble tier list. That's my current take on the game and these characters, and I'll update this once again when the next character comes out, which should be Endeavor. If we also get a balance patch in the meantime, I'll make sure to adjust every character accordingly, but for now, this is how I see the game. Feel free to let me know what you'd change in the comments down below, but keep it healthy and get yourself a better browser. Download Opera GX today, the link is right there. And for more My Hero Ultra Rumble, Aizawa just joined the roster, and this is how he ruins everyone's fun. Thanks for watching. Bye.